Hello students, welcome to the lecture series on plant physiology. Today we are going to learn about a new topic, that is transpiration. In this video we will learn about definition and types of transpiration, and also we will see the structure of stomata. So let us start with this video. Dear students, we know very well plant roots, they are actively involved in the process of water absorption. They continuously absorbing water. So the excess water absorbed by the roots, it is lost by aerial plant parts in the form of water vapor and sometimes in the form of liquid. So of total water absorbed by roots, only a fraction of water, that is 1 to 2% of water, it is utilized by plant to perform various metabolic biological activities, for example photosynthesis, respiration, etc. Rest of the absorbed water, that is 98 to 99% of water, it get lost through stomata of a plant. So this process of water loss is referred to as transpiration. So what is transpiration? We have to see here. We know our roots are continuously involved in the process of water absorption. They absorb too much water and they continuously absorbing water. That much water it is not required for the plant. So only 1 to 2% of water it is utilized, and it is sufficient for plant to perform different types of metabolic biological activities or different types of physiological activities. So rest of 98 to 99% of water it is thrown out by the plant through the aerial parts of the plant and mostly by stomata into the environment. So this process of water loss, or this process of throwing out water, excess water, it is known as transpiration. So this is known as transpiration. Now transpiration can be defined as the loss of water from the living tissue of upper, that is aerial parts of the plant in the form of water vapor, it is known as transpiration. So very simple definition is there, that is the loss of water from living tissue, means mesophyll tissue, or we may call it stomata of upper aerial parts of the plant. And mostly aerial parts means mostly leaves are involved in the process. So this water is lost in the form of water vapor, it is known as transpiration. So this process of water loss or excess water loss, it is known as transpiration. Plants, they transpire water in very large quantity, and figures are quite amazing. So if we see the figures of water loss by different plants, then we can have a wonder, or it is very amazing quantity. A plant in its life cycle throw out a high quantity of water. For example, we will see some example. A maize plant, that is Zea maize plant, it transpires about 2,02,106 gram of water in its total lifespan. Then there is another plant, namely Crotalaria juncea. It transpires about 27 kilogram water in its life cycle of 140 days. So this plant completes its life cycle in 140 days, and in this short lifespan, this plant it transpires about 27 kilogram of water. Then there is a plant, namely Helianthus anus, means we can say commonly it is as sunflowers. So this plant it transpires about 56 kilogram of water. There is a plant, namely Birch Tree. So this plant which having many leaves. So a birch tree with 2 lakh leaves, it transpires about 300 to 400 kilogram of water on a 4 day. So on a day or in a day, it can transpire about 300 to 400 kilogram of water. Then A beech tree, it evaporates about 75 kilogram of water per day during summer. So these are some amazing figures which showing the quantity of water it is transpired by different plants. Now we will see types of transpiration. So most of the water loss, that is transpiration, it takes place through leaves, and because leaves contain stomata, so water loss takes place through leaves, and this particular transpiration it is known as foliar transpiration. So the transpiration which are taking place through leaves, it is known as foliar transpiration. But sometimes the transpiration can be performed by different other organs too, that is stem, flowers, fruit, etc. So majority of transpiration takes place through this foliar or through the leaves. But there are another some kinds of transpirations, for example cuticular transpiration, lenticular transpiration, and stomatal transpiration. So stomatal transpiration, it is the transpiration which is taken place by the leaves. But other than leaves, there are another two plant parts which having the role of transpiration. So cuticle and lenticels, they are actively involved in the process of transpiration with stomata. So based on the way of water loss, there are three types of transpiration. So these are three types. First is cuticular transpiration, second is lenticular transpiration, and third is stomatal transpiration. So one by one we will discuss in detail. First of all, we will see cuticular transpiration. So where cuticle actually present, cuticle is present, or it is outermost layer of the plant or leaf, we can say, or any stem, because it is present on epidermis. So this is waxy layer, and this wax, it is exuded out from the epidermal cells, and it forms a waxy coating on the epidermis. So when water is lost through the cuticle, then it is known as cuticular transpiration. So when water is lost through the cuticle, it is a waxy coating, as I have told you, present on the epidermis of leaves as well as stem of some herbaceous plants. So cuticle, it is present on the epidermis of leaves as well as stems of some herbaceous and green plants. Cuticle acts as a check on water loss in plants, but sometimes it loses water due to some cracks in it. So what is main role of cuticle is to prevent water loss or to prevent transpiration. This is main role of cuticle. But sometimes due to some mechanical or some natural injuries, there would be some cracks on the cuticle. So continuous layer of cuticle, it may become cracked, and due to that there is water loss takes place through these cracks. So if cuticle is more thick, then there is reduction in rate of transpiration. So if this cuticle is more thick, then there is a reduction of rate of transpiration, because thick cuticle, it will prevent the rate of transpiration or rate of water loss through it. But if this cuticle is somewhat thin, then there will be cracks, and that particular epidermis or that particular cuticle, it will more transpire the water, or it will transpire water in more amount. So about 20% of total transpiration is takes place by this method. So of total transpiration taken place into a plant, about 20% of transpiration, it will takes place through cuticular transpiration. So this is a very common type of transpiration. Now we will see next type of transpiration. Now we will see lenticular transpiration. When transpiration takes place through lenticels, then it is known as lenticular transpiration. Now what are lenticels? Lenticels, they are present or they are the areas in the bark which are composed of loosely arranged complementary cells. So lenticels are present into the bark, means bark of a stem, and they are composed of loosely arranged complementary cells. So the water loss through lenticel is about 0.1%, or it is very negligible of total water transpiration. So it is very negligible as compared to other types of transpirations. So sometimes water transpires through lenticels also. So what are lenticels? They are present on bark and they are composed of loosely arranged complementary cells. So all these cells which are present into the bark, they can have the mechanism of transpiration, but rate of transpiration through this method, it is very less, that is 0.1%, and it is very negligible as compared to other method, because we have seen cuticular transpiration, it has 20% part into the total transpiration taken place into the plant, but as compared to that, this is very less, or this is very negligible, that is 0.1%. so the transpiration taking place through lenticel, it is very less, or it is negligible. Now we will see most common type of transpiration, and the most transpiration taking place into the plant, it will take place by this method, that is stomatal transpiration. So when water loss takes place through the stomata present on leaves and stem of some plants, then it is known as stomatal transpiration. So many leaves, or all, nearly all leaves, they contain stomata. These are the small apertures or openings present on the leaves, and sometimes some green plants, or the plants having green stems, they also contain stomata on their stem. So when water is lost by these stomata which are present on leaves as well as stems of some plants, then it is known as stomatal transpiration. So what are stomata? We have to know. So stomata are the minute apertures in the epidermis of mainly leaves and sometimes on the stems of herbaceous plants. So stomata are the small minute apertures. We will see in next slide the structure of stomata. So they are present on the epidermis of leaves and the stem of some herbaceous plant. So opening and closing of stomata, it is controlled by guard cells. These guard cells are actively involved in the process of opening and closing of stomata. Lower parts of leaf normally contains large number of stomata as compared to upper parts. So this is natural arrangement of stomata on leaf. Lower part of the plant, it contains maximum number of stomata as compared to upper part, because naturally there is prevention of over transpiration or excess water loss, so that lower part, it is not directly exposed to sunlight, so that it contains more number of stomata, but upper part, as it is more exposed to sunlight, so it contains less number of stomata. But in monocot plants, the amount of stomata is equal on both sides. But if you see monocot plant, they contains number of stomata equal on both surface, that is lower and upper surface. If we see aquatic plants like Eichhornia, Pistia, etc., only contains stomata on upper surface of leaf. So these plants, as their lower part of leaf, it is present, or it is embedded into the water, so that there are no stomata present on the lower surface of leaf of these plants, that is Eichhornia and Pistia. So these aquatic plants contain stomata on upper surface only. This is main way of water transpiration, and about 80 to 90% of total transpiration takes place by this method. So stomatal transpiration, it is main way of transpiration, and maximum transpiration which is taking place in plant, it is takes place through this type of transpiration, that is stomatal transpiration. So as compared to lenticular and cuticular transpiration, most transpiration is taken place by stomatal transpiration, that is 80 to 90%. So these are different types of transpiration. Now as we know, stomata, they are actively involved in the process of transpiration, and maximum amount of transpiration takes place through stomata. We should know what is structure of stomata, how stomata are made. So as we know, stomata are present on the epidermis of the plant. If we see a structure of a typical stomata, you can see all these parts. Here you can see stomatal aperture. This is stomatal aperture. This is open stomata through which water can be lost. Then these are guard cells as shown in brown color. You can see here all these are these two are guard cells. These guard cells having cytoplasm, then each guard cell having nucleus, it has central vacuole, then it has chloroplasts. Here you can see, so they are actively involved in the process of photosynthesis. So these are known as guard cell. This one and this one, these are guard cells. Then outer thin wall, so this guard cell, it contains outer thin wall and inner, this is thick wall. So this is very thick wall, inner thick wall and outer thin wall. Then this is the total stomata, which contains aperture and guard cells. These guard cells are surrounded by other epidermal cells. They are known as subsidiary cells. You can see here. So these are subsidiary cells which are shown in blue color. So you can see here structure of stomata. Now this is the structure of typical stomata. Stomata are normally present on leaves. These are minute pores of elliptical shape. So these are minor pores and they are having elliptical shape, which are surrounded by two specialized epidermal cells called guard cells. So these are two specialized epidermal cells. These are known as guard cells, as they are involved in the process of opening and closing of stomata. They are doing work as a watchman does, so they are known as guard cells. So guard cells are kidney shaped in dicot and dumbbell shaped in monocots. If we see this structure or the shape of guard cells in dicot, they are kidney shaped, but if we see the structure of guard cells in a monocot plant or monocot leaves, they are dumbbell shaped. Each guard cell, it contains a cytoplasmic lining and a central vacuole, it containing cell sap. So this is a cell, guard cell, which contain a cell sap, and it has the cytoplasm and which having a central vacuole. A nucleus and number of chloroplasts are also present in the cytoplasm. So you can see here the nucleus of this guard cell and nucleus of these guard cells. Here we have shown the chloroplasts in red color. So you can see these are many chloroplasts present into the guard cells. The epidermal cells surrounding the guard cells, they are specialized and they are called as subsidiary cells. As we have discussed, these are the subsidiary cells, which are the special type of epidermal cells. The size of stomata and guard cells, it vary from plant to plant. So how much stomata is large or small, it is depend upon different plants, or different plant contains different sizes of stomata. Stomata, it nearly occupy about 1 to 2% of total leaf area. So stomata of a leaf, it occupies about 1 to 2% of total leaf area, means they are present or they are distributed throughout the leaf, that is upper as well as lower part of the plant. So this is the typical structure of the stomata. So in this video we have learned about the transpiration definition, then we have seen different types of transpiration, and also we have discussed structure of stomata. So thanks for your attention.